point gained or 2 points dropped? How do you see it?
Point gained. Let's not kid ourselves. Great point. Fantastic point. If you look at the team that I this week and the team that started, Nathaniel Blair gets his debut. Tonic hasn't started the game. He plays it right back. Ollie's still not there yet either. So it was a bit of a different shape that we played. We needed to negate the team that's coming first. And you have to look at the team that finished on both sets. They've got the ability to put on their club captain, Scott Jamieson, then you've got Galloway, then you've got Naboo, then you've got Berenguer, and I'm putting my kids on. So as far as I'm concerned, super point. They fought right to the end. We got one, maybe could have got another one. Rami had a great chance, started the first 5 minutes, second half. That was part of our plan. That's football. Football's not just about, that's the way I coach anyway, is play your strengths and understand the opposition and put a plan together week in, week out.
You mentioned last week you wanted to see a bit of a lift in the attitude and that fight. You saw that today.
I saw that.
What kind of going forward, so when you're playing the teams that maybe aren't as high ranked on the ladder, how do you get that every week? Yeah,
today wasn't the test. Yep. Next week's a test. We're away to Newcastle next week in Newcastle, so that's going to be the real test, and we'll go through a process. We slightly changed, having a good chat in Perth about it as a group, as a collective, about where we need to improve as a team, because we're still building. We're building something here, and I didn't see that last week, but like I said, I certainly saw it today, and that's the challenge this week.
You mentioned Tom-Nick. He was, I think that was his first start for the year.
It was.
Obviously, right back isn't where he's probably brought to the club to play, but really solid job. Had a nice hand in the goal.
Yeah,
he was good, wasn't he?
He was good. They were all good. The goal was a carbon copy we worked on. You try to shift them out of their positions and out of their press. We kept McLaren to a 0 for the first time. That was a challenge as well, and we stopped all the supply into him. They're not a team that crosses a lot. We knew that, so we played a 3-man midfield across the back four. We were in front of the back four, and we doubled team when they got into the wide positions, because they've got fantastic 1v1 types of players. Their catbacks didn't really work. They got their goal from a disappointing cross clearance from us. We should have done a lot better in terms of that. You can talk about stats. For me, it doesn't really matter, because we knew the game plan this week, and I thought we were terrific. The only thing that I'd say is that, had we got that second one and we had the chances to do it as well, maybe it would have been a different story here today.
Knowing that these youngsters will have a lot to learn, what do you think they'll take from this game, Rudan?
They always take belief that they can play at this level. They believe in themselves and believe in what we're trying to do as well. They work hard, and we work extremely hard with them as well. A lot of them. No one knew who Nathaniel Blair was 12 months ago, let alone 6 months ago, right? The guy wasn't even starting at Apia, but we saw something in him, and he's improved so much in the last 6 months in our environment. Young Adam Simmons gets an opportunity. He's a right winger, comes in at right back. We've Marcus as well. Eunice got an opportunity. A year ago he wasn't even playing in our 18s team, right? He was in and out of that. So, they're all developing, and belief's probably the most important word. And I always recall when I was a young 17-year-old making my debut in the old NSL. It's when you've got the belief of the coach and players around you helping you. That's the kind of environment that we want for them, as opposed to going there where you've got players always on your back, or coaches not playing you, or telling you you're not good enough. It's tough. So we want them to enjoy this experience, and they'll take a lot away from it.
Marko, was a defensive play was the game plan leading into today's game against a good team like City?
Yeah, like I said, the plan was to negate their strengths, of which there are many, right? And but they all knew their roles and responsibilities. Like I said, their goal, we were always going to give them, it's a bit of give and take. What we gave them, without giving too much detail, was a certain part of the park, in a certain area of the park. We were okay there because we know that they're not going to be so dangerous in that area. So then we got closer to goal. Like I said, we stopped their wide players from, winning 1v1 duels. Their eights didn't really get too much opportunities. McLaren didn't get a sniff tonight, apart from corners in the back post. So we sort of changed that up a bit. Instead of RT staying into an area, we got him a little bit closer, but it was part of it. I didn't think it was going to be as big a part of it as what we saw today, because there's a lot of it. And I did mention at half-time, the last 5 minutes, we got really deep. It's not what we wanted to do. We've got that easy pass they were getting out. We didn't want that to happen either, so we just sort of structurally changed a little bit. But all in all, it was great. And I said this live, afterwards. I feel for both sets of players. I'm not going to lie to you. I understand what television means and what it brings in terms of the financials. But if you're expecting, two sets of teams to put on a great show, like we saw last night, victory in Adelaide, which was great. 7:30 at night, great atmosphere. It was end-to-end stuff. The players are playing at a good time. You're not going to get that at 3 o'clock. You're just not going to get it, especially here in Sydney. And then talk about the fans and members. We're trying to build, every club, trying to get more fans in. We're trying to get them engaged. We're trying to get into stadiums. And I looked across the park at the start of the game, and I'm seeing all this sun. And I wouldn't take my young kids there when they were young, let alone with knowing how fierce the sun is in Australia. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. It's something that I was shaking my head over when I saw these Sunday 3 o'clock games, right? Our players' welfare has to be, paramount, pardon the pun, right? But it's hugely important, right, for them to play at their maximum. I said to both sets of players out there, even Melbourne City players, take my hat off to you. I really, really do. I could only imagine I reckon I lost 3 kilos of sweat just standing on the sidelines, right? Imagine what they went through today. Now they're going to have to recover. It's going to be 2-3 days of recovery for both sets of players. Ridiculous. You're not going to get quality at 3 o'clock. So you're tuning in for the first time and you go, I'm going to watch a game of football at Sunday at 3 o'clock. And you see, I've not yet seen a real top game of football on a Sunday at 3 o'clock, sorry. Particularly in a competition that's played during the summer. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand what you're trying to get out of it because you're not getting quality. And if you don't get the quality on the park, everything else will follow from a negative point of view. They'll switch off and say, is that what the A-League's about? Oh, I didn't really see much there. I'm not going to tune in again. I'm not going to get a membership. I'm not going to go into the stadium. But you see, 7:30 Saturday nights, there's not one game I haven't seen that's been bloody quality. I'll tell you that right now. That's a great time zone to play. The players enjoy it. Fans enjoy it. People at home enjoy it.
Do the conditions almost invite like a more conservative playing?
No, I'll be honest with you, no. We tried to embrace that. We knew it was going to be hot at the start of the week, and we made mention of that to our playing group, and we wanted to use that as an advantage because down in Melbourne, having lived there for a couple of years, you don't get consistently hot days, right? So we could have acclimatised that, and we try to use that as our advantage. But you're talking about a team that's very strong and powerful and fit as well at the same time, right? So it's not something that we used as a negative. We tried to embrace it and understand that we could use this to our advantage.
Are you on the injury front? Yengi, Ninko?
Yep,
Yeah.
You keep going, Yeah, there's a few there, but yeah, we'll see. Yengi still maybe a week or two. Miloš maybe a week or two. Yenny really shouldn't have played, but we're really depleted.
Yep.
And that's why he came on and probably wasn't at his best because we just needed his leadership to communicate and get us through because Rami was gone. Yeah. So sometimes it's out of necessity to make. Not that I wanted to bring on Yenny. I wanted to protect him as much as possible, but he was eager to come on. I needed that kind of leadership, particularly in a game like that as well.
Marko, when you see how well Melbourne have done this year, and now you've got to play them for 90 minutes, how far away do you think your group is from being at that level? Yeah,
they're a team that's been built for the last 3 years. Let's be honest. They've been building that team for 3 years, and then every year they seem to get Aleki or or somebody else, right? And they just continue, or Berish. I mean, this guy Berish is a gun of a player. Let's not kid ourselves, and he's here playing in the A-League, right? They continue to, and they've got a great system, a great network. They're part of the City Group. It's almost uncomparable, right? Them against the rest because of what they've got and the structure of what they've got. Speaking to Patrick Kuznorbo, who's a good mate of mine, and he spoke to me about the City Group and how he's able to tap into their 110 scouts in the City Group. It's pretty easy, while I'm watching 6 or 7 hours of footage on a certain player, they've got the ability to say, well, I want this type of player, and here's 20 players to choose from. We're trying to do that ourselves, and that's probably the same with every club, right? They are the benchmark, and I said that to my playing group as well. But like I said, they've been together for 3 or 4 years now, where they've had that consistent success, the attitude. When a couple of years ago, I don't remember his name, the French guy when he came in, right? He changed their system, their playing style, everything, and it's just built from there. They know exactly the kind of player and the skill sets required in each position and then they're hungry. You got Matty Leckie, who I've known since he was 18, playing with him when I was at Adelaide, who's still as hungry as ever after the incredible World Cup that he had. And he still comes back and does a job. Jamie McLaren, you can understand him. I mean, he hasn't stopped scoring goals. Tilio didn't get much game time. That's if you want to make it, I always tell my young players, mate, look at some of those players. They're hungry. You know, how do you buy that? How do you teach that? How do you coach that? You know, Lex could have easily just fallen to the wayside and said, mate, I've had my World Cup. What a World Cup he's had. And just go through the motions. But he hasn't done that. It's not easy, but I think he's a great source of inspiration to any other Australian, particularly young ones, who want to make it. And he's had his career, huh? He's had his career, right? But that's the kind of attitude. We talk about skill sets and first touch and seeing a pass, but unless those behaviours are consistent, they all say, well, they want to go overseas, but you've got to do that consistently. And your mindset has to be of such where you've got to be determined and make sacrifices and understand what you want. And we'll give that to you. Most coaches will tell you we're at their service. You tell us what you want, we're going to help you as long. But do they actually want it that badly? So I told the young kids, watch Leckie, watch McLaren. What these guys played in the World Cup, that should have been the biggest high. Yet they come back to club football and look at what they do. Look at the effort they put on off the ball. Forget about what McLaren does with his scoring. He's running around trying to. That's what's required if you want to make it. Anyway, done. Thank you.